Hey there YouTube fans, AC Productions here, and today we're going to be installing the Race Fairings that I got from Armod. So yeah, let's get started. Let's not waste time. Let's get these guys on there because I'm super pumped, super excited to get these on there to change the look of the bike. I think it's going to make the bike look really cool, especially with all these other modifications I've already done to it. It's going to give it more of a racy profile. Alright, so let's get started. Let me show you the tools that you're going to need to remove your side fairings. You're going to need a motorcycle rear stand, a 4mm Allen key. Okay, so I'm going to get started and we're going to install it on the left side first, just for me because it's more accessible to me. So to make things easier, you could probably just get away with just removing this Z panel here, but because it's kind of overlapping with the triangle piece here, we're going to go ahead and remove the triangle piece also. So to remove the triangle piece will be this bolt here, this bolt over here, and then after that I'm going to remove this bolt here. There's going to be a bolt all the way down here at the bottom corner, and then there's going to be a bolt right there. So go ahead and remove all those screws and then remove the panel. Okay, now depending on your setup, if you happen to have LEDs on your side Z pillar fairing, I guess I would call it. If you happen to have LEDs on it, right now would be a good time to go ahead and disconnect them. If you do not have any LEDs on this particular part of the fairing, then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and just remove the fairing. So when you remove it, just make sure that you remove the top part first. So just go ahead and push down and then out. Make sure you don't break the tab. That sounded like a tab broke, but it didn't. It just came out of it because it's kind of cold in my storage right now. So that came out. And then if you notice over here, so if you notice right here, there's going to be a tab right here and a tab right below it. To get this part out, just push down and then push back, and that will release the tabs. So let's go ahead and remove it. You may have to wiggle and fight with it with a little bit, but once you get it out, you're out. And if you have LEDs like I do, just go ahead and disconnect them. Now let's go ahead and put this cover off to the side. Now let's grab our new cover. Okay, so now we're going to put the fairing on, and this might get tricky. You want to make sure that you have this piece up here, and then also you want to make sure that you align these tabs, this one over here and this one over here, with the corresponding holes, which is going to be right in there. If you could see, there's one here and one over here. So just make sure that you put those tabs, line them up in there, and then we're going to go ahead and put it up here. Make sure you put the screw in there, and don't forget you have one screw down here, and then finally you have a screw over here. So let's go ahead and do that. And also you want to make sure that your kickstand is up, because when we put it on there, a little bit more angle for you guys to see what I'm doing. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and line everything up the best we can. Make sure that you line up those parts there, and you put them inside in like so. Once you get it in there, I'm going to go ahead and might get a little tricky. You may have to wiggle it around a little bit to get it on properly. So just try to do the best you can. Also try to make sure that you take your time in this department, because you definitely don't want to be breaking any pieces while installing it. So while I go ahead and try to take my time and not bore you guys with me trying to move the piece around, I'm going to pause it, I'll install it. You guys do the same. Just make sure you take your time. If you feel that this is stressing you out, because I can see this piece already stressing me out, just take a breather and then go back to it. So this is the part I wanted to show you guys. Make sure you have the kickstand up, put your fairing on, and then put the kickstand down. Now this is what the little gap is on the fairing for, so that way it makes it a little bit easier when installing the fairing. So once you have it there like so, you could go ahead and if you want to get started, you could go ahead and put the one screw up there to help you on holding the fairing while you put the rest of it on there. Alright, so I had to find myself to take a breather on this one because it was kind of getting on my nerves. What I did is I started off with the bolt down here, so I put this on there to hold it in place while I worked on it, which helped. Next is that this piece is not going on. As you can see how much of a gap there is. I don't want to force it because I don't want to break it, so I was trying to see why is it not going and not lining up with this one. And what I found out is that it's hitting this bolt right here. So as you can see, it's definitely hitting the bolt, so it's not allowing this piece to line up over here for me to close it. Alright guys, after struggling with this side fairing for a little bit, I noticed that I was thinking maybe I should remove my engine cover, which I did. It's right over here. Here's the engine cover that I had over here. And because of the engine cover and how thick the engine cover is, it wasn't allowing the side fairing to actually bolt on. That's why you see I did the little hole over here to allow for this piece right here so it could kind of just move in a little bit. But because of how thick this engine cover is, the side fairing will not fit with it. So if you don't have a side fairing, it should fit. It's just going to take time to actually get it on there, because this top part, once you get that bottom bolt on, when you get to the top part, it's going to stick out a little bit, like in this picture as you see. Once you get that bottom bolt on, you put the bolt in here. You're going to have to really put some pressure on this top part to get it to line up to the hole in there, and then you're going to have to start screwing it in. It's going to take a lot of pressure to actually get this sucker in there, and trust me, it was a pain in the butt. It wasn't easy. It doesn't go on just as easy as the stock fairings did. Also, if you remember about those two tabs I was telling you about putting them in there, don't even worry about it. They don't really fit in there too well. This top one was able to go in there by accident, but it went in there, which is fine. The bottom one didn't go in at all. So as far as those pins are concerned, don't even worry about trying to fit those in there, because you're just going to get really pissed off on trying to fit those in there and also try to get the bolt on the top. So don't even worry about the pins, just concentrate on getting the bolt on the top and the bottom. But I would suggest starting off with the bottom bolt first, and then it just makes it easier on holding the piece in place. And then after that, after you do that bottom bolt on this side, go ahead and do the bolt over here. After that one, do this one last, because this one was the most pain in the butt bolt to actually get the fairing into place. After all said and done in here, next would be I will probably do the extra bolt over here. So as far as this bottom one is concerned, I probably will drill a different hole, because if you see this hole doesn't really line up with this bracket. Like I said guys, we never really had anything over here to begin with, so this was just an extra precaution. So I'm gonna go ahead and drill probably another hole above it just a little bit, and then I'm gonna put a bolt with some spacers and to kind of secure it here, because if you see on this side there's a little bit of a gap, so might as well be just more secure and more careful with this. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that and secure it in place. Other than that, it's fitting pretty well. It's just having an issue with contact over here at the bottom. It's scraping with the spring from the kickstand. I will probably move this rubber sleeve. I'll probably move it up a little bit to cover the spring so it's not really rubbing on that part. Right now it's okay because it's not painted, but if you do have a painted piece, you want to keep that in mind that it's gonna touch. So unless you remove the rubber piece up a little bit to help on not scratching that part there. But other than that, it goes up pretty well. As soon as I probably secure that piece over there, I'll probably go up a little bit better. But other than that, it's looking pretty well, minus that, you know, it was a struggle to get that sucker on there. As far as this curved hole that I did, I'm just going to go ahead and epoxy it, and therefore it'll look like nothing ever happened there. But as far as not having an engine cover there, it kind of worries me a little bit, because I've already had 2 accidents, and thanks to the engine covers protecting the side of the engine, that I didn't damage the engine. So that's the part that I'm worried about. If I happen to have another accident, I can damage that part, and this part can be pretty costly. I mean, I do have frame sliders, but they could only do so much. So I don't know, I may have to look into a different mode or a different option for some type of engine cover protection, because I definitely don't want to be riding without anything there to actually protect this area. That's pretty much it for this section so far. So next for me, I'm gonna go ahead and put these bolts back on. That was just holding my engine cover that I had over here. Oh, and one other thing, you want to make sure that your breather hoses are actually pointed out in a way, not inside the cover. Want to make sure that they're pointing down and outside of the cover there. Alright, so now here's the screws that I'm going to be using. It's going to be a couple of spacers, and the screw is going to be a 6mm metric style button head bolt with a 5mm top. So a 5mm Allen key is going to fit into that, and then also with a 6mm nut. And I suggest if you're going to be using this part, put a little bit of blue thread lock on this end, so when you tighten down the bolt, that it's not going to vibrate off. Also, what I use to make the hole is going to be a 1564. This is what I use to make the hole for that screw, 1564. So as you can see here, I made the extra hole, which is right over here. The hole that it came with is underneath it, which doesn't line up with this bracket. So once I made the hole, as you can see, it lines up perfectly. Now I'm just going to go ahead and put my screw with the 2 spacers on. So there it is, the bolt is on there, and like I said, I put a little bit of thread locker on the other end of it. On this side I have a spacer, and then on the other side I have a spacer, and then I got the nut on the other side. Once you put it on there, you don't have to tighten it that crazy, because once you start putting too much pressure, you're going to hear some cracking on the fiberglass. Just want to make sure that it's snug. That's all you want to make sure that that part is. And now that that part is snug and on there, the whole fairing is on there securely. There's no problem there. All right, so now the whole fairing is on there fairly securely. As far as over here, it doesn't really line up too well, but you're not going to really notice that unless you're looking at this video. And but other than that, from on top, there's not much you can do. It's really on there, so it's pretty tight. And I'm really surprised with the amount of pressure I had to push this part of the fairing to get it to line up with the screw there, so I could tighten it down. And I was really surprised that I didn't hear any cracking on this fiberglass as I was doing so. So that kind of just shows the quality, because with that other fairing that I had, the garbage fairing, as soon as I started putting a little pressure, you could hear the cracking. But on this one, there was definitely no cracking. So I could just tell by it that they put a lot of layers of fiberglass to make it very strong. So it's on there. And like I said, guys, I'm going to be looking probably for another form of engine cover protection to put over here, because I definitely don't want to be riding without something to protect the engine cover in case I have another spill. Now we're going to go ahead and move on to the other side. Okay, next what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and remove this side of the fairing. And if you're wondering what that humming noise is, I noticed that my battery was very low in voltage, so I have it connected to the battery charger now, bringing the battery back to life, because it was pretty much dead. It only had 2 volts, so I was really surprised. All right, so getting back to this, so we're going to go ahead and remove this side of the fairing. It's going to be the bolt down here, one over here in the front, then it's going to be one up here on the top, and that's going to go ahead and remove that this side fairing. And then also, just like the other side, I'm going to also have to remove that triangle piece. Let's go ahead and get started with that. And I'm really hoping that I'm not going to have an issue with this engine cover like I did on the other side. If that's the case, I would have to remove that one, and then again, like I said, have to find an alternative engine cover for my bike. All right, but anyhow, let's go ahead and remove this part, then let's get started with that this part of the installation. Okay, now that we got the side fairing off, I just wanted to show you this part on the other side. Since we already installed this fairing, you're gonna see that it has this, like, you know, really sharp angle here, like a little pocket there. I noticed that on the other fairing, it's actually gonna slide into this little spot. So if you look at this fairing here, that's what that indentation on this part of the fairing is, which is right over here, as you can see right there. Okay, so now that part is gonna slide into this piece over here on that other end. So if you look at this part of the fairing, as you can see, the indentation here in the corner. So when you go ahead, you're gonna go ahead and you're gonna slide it in like so. So he's gonna put it together like 2 pieces in like that. So that's gonna be the underbelly part of the bike. Sorry guys, it's kind of hard to show you and hold this flashlight here at the same time. But like I said, if this is the fairing, go ahead from behind and then just go ahead and slide it in like so. And that's gonna be that part. And then you're just gonna go ahead and attach it to this side of the bike. I also noticed with this side of the fairing, as you could see, I have my oil filler cap, which is right here. Once you put this part of the cover, it's actually gonna cover that. So the minus part of this side of the fairing is that if you need to put oil, you're not going to be able to do it so easily. You're going to actually have to remove this whole right side of the fairing just to get access to your oil filler cap if you ever need to fill up a little bit on some oil in case you have a leak, or if you're going to be doing an oil change and you have these fairings, you're definitely going to have to remove the fairing to get to fill up on the oil. So that's going to be one of the things to take note on when installing these style of fairings. Alright guys, looks like it's going to be the same issue with this side for me on my bike because of the engine cover here. It's actually making this piece stick out further than it needs to. And like as you could see up here, you could see how much space is in between here and there. So I'm going to have to, unfortunately on my end, remove my engine cover. On your bike you may not have an engine cover, so you don't have to worry about this part of the installation. But and then as far as this piece is concerned over here, it's not really fitting all that well as I thought it was going to be, and it could be just because of my engine cover. But if you see the kind of the gap here in between there, but hopefully that's going to be fixed as soon as I remove my engine cover on this side, and hopefully it actually fits in very well on that side. Okay, after fighting with this side of the fairing, which was just as much as of a pain in the butt as the other side it was, I finally got it on there. And what I did was I started off with this bolt down here first, not this one on this side. So it was first this bolt, and then after that one, this bolt, at the same time trying to fit that bottom piece. Let me show you what I mean mean. So at the same time trying to fit these two pieces together, which they still don't fit all together all that well. I would say Armad, you're gonna have to work on this, perfect it a little bit better, because it's not working out on the R3, at least not for the US market. Maybe for the R25 in Europe might be slight difference and maybe it fits a little bit better, but as far as here in the US, that's not really fitting all that well. So besides that one, so I did this screw first, then okay, so this screw first, then I did this screw over here at the same time trying to fit that piece together, and then after that final screw was this one up here on the top, which is the most hardest screw to get on the top. And as you could see, with that much, there was so much tension on this top part right up here. As you can see, there's a little bit of a gap there, but that's as best I could get it on there. Other than that, I mean, it was, trust me, it was a lot of work just to get this little guy on there. But other than that, I mean, once it's said and done, it looks pretty cool. And I would say the only minus part about on this side is that if you want to put oil into your engine, you're going to have to remove this piece. And it's going to be a real pain in the butt to put it right back on. And especially if you're out on the road and you need to put a little bit of oil in your bike, it's gonna be rough. So if anything, always check your bike before you go out. If this is something that you're not comfortable with, I don't suggest getting these fairings, because as you could see, it covers up the main component, which is to fill up your oil. Only positive is no one can mess with your oil. I would say that's pretty much it for this. And then if you want to see how it looks like on the bottom, so as far as the bottom's concerned, I'm not sure if you could see that, guys. It fits okay. It's not the best, like I said. The parts don't really fit like a glove, and it was really hard to get these two pieces to even go together. And even so, as you can see here in the back, it's not really lining up all that well. So other than that, that's about it. So if you see here at the bottom, and yeah, there's no screw holes really, besides those weird indentations that were in the fiberglass. And yeah, there was no screws that came with this fairing kit. So if you were to get screws to try to put this thing together, you would have to get your own screws to put these two pieces together. But as far as it's concerned right now, is that see if you can see the inside here, that the pieces don't really line up all that well. Construction is really strong, I'll tell you that, but that's about it, I would say, for the side fairings. So now that I got the two side fairings on, I'm gonna go ahead and put the triangle piece back on, put the seat, and put the rest of the bike back together. Quality of the parts is really good. It's just that the fitment is not that great. I would say that's the major part of it. I mean, I wish it would have fit the bike really easy, like the stock fairings. You know, just put it in there, put the screws, and you're all set to go, without having to really fight with these fairings on to get them to fit. So I would say that's about it. That's the only real minus I have about them. But like I said, other than that, they look great. Surprisingly, that they did not break under all that stress and pressure to put the top part on is a miracle. So let's give you an overview on how it looks. As you can see, it looks pretty good. I mean, obviously they're black, so you're not going to be able to really see the detail of the little vents here. But let me put the flashlight on. Alright, so I got a little flashlight on. Hopefully you guys could see the vent a little bit better now that I got the light on it. So here it is on this side. Now let me show you the other side. And then here we go for the other side. Well, there's the vent. Like I said, unfortunately they're black, so it's really hard to see the design of the fairing. Alright guys, so that concludes the installation of the two side fairings. Hopefully you guys found this video helpful. If you did, hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. Don't forget to hit the notification button. That way you guys can get up-to-date notifications when I post videos up on the channel. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. And thanks for watching.